This poem's called Dundee, Beaker, a Tri-translative-Performance-Act, a riff on W.N. Herbert in broken academic vernacular. There is a second stage of translation. The format of the poem, in its most technical, literal rendering, is not in colloquial structure and speech. Hand in hand, taking the words' literal versions and conducting a close read on what those words are actually saying is in itself an act of translation. With this in mind, our bi-translative interpretation follows. The title is not, as initially expected, a translation of itself, but rather a sort of triple or quadruple entendre when combined. Beaker is both an archaeological discovery of a particular subset of man, as well as a drinking vessel, and could possibly hold ingredients to bake bread. Dundee is a city in Scotland, presumably where the beaker might be based, and translates from Scots to gingerbread. Both, of course, combined, are rather noteworthy and will certainly symbolically intermingle and intertwine, bake together later. The earth was far too warm to sleep. Now he is naked like bread, the stale scraps of ages. We're not sure if this is a Scottish euphemism, but it's an interesting image. Perhaps he is indeed naked. Bones dry as whaler's bait takes the color of the earth as my skin might from the sun after a long, dry-throated saturation. The picture we had in mind was both of mummification and banana bread. Before a body is mummified, it must be dried out in a bed of sand for 70 days, a process that wicks all moisture externally and internally from the body. The same is true for banana bread, in that the topmost portion begins moist and soft like flesh, and becomes hard and brown after baking. This man has long been browned and dead, much like burnt banana bread. This decoration of flesh seems foolish. Aside his ribs are scattered oatmeal cakes. A dense reference seems to be about the body, food, excrement, etc. all become the same. He is bread, he is buried bread, he is baked, buried bread. Everything becomes earth, ingredients, and fertilization. The small, insistent pulses are no longer in my veins. He be dead. Corpulent and garish, near shadows resembling pebbles in the temporary shelters, all is one. Temporary shelter may be the grave. In the notion of a circle of life, the body decays and becomes one with the earth, the temporary shelter. Death is the ultimate unifier of both men and earth. The Dundee man is some sort of model of hybridity, an anachronistic sort of a pagan Buddhist? Wait, what? Banter could tangle with the tendons of those Sandman's finger bones. Sandman equals Grim Reaper, sleep equals death. In these images, the Reaper is skeletal, and iconically, he is depicted with finger bones, clutching a scythe. Sandman scatters sleep dust with fingers. Skeletal fingers represent the Reaper. Sleep has always been considered a form of death, or vice versa. Thoughts in that skull would be dry oats in a beaker. Oats represent ingredients in some breads and beers, beaker being a drinking vessel, and signify an initial component, but not the final or complete product, just as the thought in the man's skull are only initially rather than fully formed. With that in mind, then, we return. Thoughts in that skull would be dry oats in a beaker, and with love were cradled in that pelvic arc. Our small amounts of dirt are now in sand. Cradled could equate to feminine womb or the idea of protection, so in this case protection of male genitalia that winds up as useless dirt anyway. The things you put your thoughts into, or will deprive your thinking from, the things that you value while alive, balls, become nothing, literally dirt, or the same word denotes excrement. Dirt and sand are categories of another. They are one of earth, as all bread and balls are baking to be. He is, you are one of bread and dirt and earth and ingredients and excrement. Mere stages of cycles. Basically what we're trying to say here is, y'all balls ain't shit.